son decided to go in. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started in a couple of minutes because is this the last session before the end of the day? I do not want to keep you longer than I should. So we're going to get started on time in a couple of seconds. Here's some elevator music. Hey.
This is Coaching.
Yes, it is.
All right, can you put your name there and I can fill everything in for you? My name is Scott, by the way, so I'll be floating between these four rooms, but I'll come back to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Another conference, another Kahoot. If you don't mind, let's see if I can get you the code. See, what's the green now? There we go. There's an E. If you're just coming in, if you could just sign in very quickly, I promise you will not be playing Kahoot for an hour. We won't be doing anything for an hour. But it's 3:45, 3:44. I was just telling Brandon, I'm ready for bed. Way past my bedtime. Alright, if you don't feel like Kahooting, that's cool. You can kind of just watch the screen. I do have a Nearpod for the presentation, so you'll have that right in front of you if you choose to do so. But I think we need a Kahoot, or at least I need a Kahoot, because I was in an extremely engaging and very informative session, but I was up till midnight. I might have mentioned I'm 44. I had a big lunch. I'm exhausted right now. So this will at least get our blood pumping. And we're going to get started in about 30 seconds, I think. The baby's welcome to come in and fuss and just keep it interesting. I do not discriminate. All right, MJ is in. I have to tell you this story briefly. I wasn't sure if I was going to share this, but I just saw MJ. Unfortunately, a week ago, my cousin passed away. She was 46, I'm 44, so she was like my big cousin, but not big cousin. And her services are going to be after the conference, and my sister said, I was debating, I don't know if I'm going to make it, I don't know when the funeral is going to be, how do I do this? And my sister, because Michelle was my cousin, she was a teacher as well. She was a special education teacher. And it was really funny. When I just saw that MJ come in, her name was Michelle Jackson. She was a teacher. And my sister said, you see, the funeral's the day after you get back from P&C. So, Michelle wanted you to be at this conference. And she's always like, no, you got to do your job. You got to teach. You got to do what you got to do. So when I saw MJ, whoever you are, thank you, MJ. MJ, she's here. Woo! So thank you guys for being here. I'm not going to introduce myself formally yet because I think we all need a Kahoot. I just told you a kind of bummer story, so now we need a happy story. Now you're like, oh great, this is going to be a lot of fun. Let's see if we can get started with something to kind of get the blood going a little bit. So we're going to start right away. How do instructional technology coaches provide professional development in your district? Do they provide one-on-one, group, small group, or all of the above? There's a spoiler, there's no right answer. And the correct answer is but I'm very happy to see all of the above. And I know I just got started, I didn't introduce myself or the session, but I promise I will after our game. So question number 2 is the following. This person works with teachers to develop technology-enhanced lessons and instruction while providing in-class peer mentoring. I left peer out because it was actually a little too long. Could it be a peer mentor, technology coach, integrationist, student? Well, I'm not sure. You were all correct. It is a technology coach and integrationist. I like it. Next up. A tech coach should do all of the following, except the first one to collaborate, facilitate, consult, sit in the office. If there is a job where I can sit in my office and get paid. That is not the correct answer. I was just being a little silly. Sorry about that. We all know you cannot obviously do that as a tech coach, but you all got that one right. That's how I know you know. Reflection, support, and asking questions is a part of coaching, observation, checking teaching style, or lunch duty. I do sometimes think about my life throughout the day and my choices, but the correct answer would be, what do we think? I love, this is the A team. I'm so happy you came. All right, which is not an example of modeling and co-teaching lessons to show effective tech integration. Reporting teachers who are not using technology in their class. Presenting on Nearpod. Teaching a science lesson using Edpuzzle. Assisting a math teacher create a test in Google Forms, which is not nor a good idea, or modeling, co-teaching. Please don't do this. You will not be doing this job very long. I'm reporting teachers, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Almost done here. Being a change agent, connected learner, collaborator, learning design facilitator, advocate, and decision maker are good ideas, classroom management techniques, ISTE standards for tech coaches, or all of the above. The ISTE standards for tech coaches. I can pull that up later, but International Society of Technology and Education, those are actually the different benchmarks for technology coaches. So I like that. I like that. Gives me something fresh and new to work. Look at formative instruction. All right, instructional technology PD is only for teachers. True or false? I heard all those answers right away. I bet you know the answer to this one. And survey says, you got it. All right, that is completely false, which leads me probably to this question if I remember the order. True or false, technology coaches will not work with students. True or false, I hear those responses. You got it again, false. As a matter of fact, one of the best days that I have every day is when I actually get to work with the students one-on-one, or present in a class, or to work with a small group. True or false, technology coaches should refuse to assist people with other tech-related issues like hooking up various things to your computer and cords and all that good stuff. I know, 4 people, I think I would be number 5. I'm on the fence. There's value in all of it, but we'll hear my perspective a little later. So I think actually everyone's right there. And the final question before you get to figure out who's in front of you. P&T conference will be, please God, Bahamas, Jersey, Hershey, or Harrisburg. Jersey, you can tell I'm from Philly. I said Jersey, not New Jersey. So what do you think? What do you know? It's going back to Hershey. Anyone kind of bummed you're not in Hershey right now? I think there's some mixed kind of feelings out there. I like things, you know, when they're new, but I won't mind getting back to Hershey. In 3rd place, Katie, your boss. Steam power, I like that. And number 1, Matt. Where's Matt? Matt, if you come up, I have a $5 Amazon gift card for you. I just need to text it to you. So let's give Matt a round of applause for tolerating my foolishness. And while we do that, Matt's going to come up. If you guys could kindly run over to nearpod.com. And that is your super code. Do you want me to text it to you or email it to you? It's only $5. You know what? You can get some cool stuff for $5 on Amazon. All right, let's do text. All right, so I'm not even going to ask you your number. You can put it in. Look at that. I'm going to think I got a text message too. Okay. My daughter's Google Classroom notification just popped up. I'm spying on her. All right, if you don't mind, if you could go over to Nearpod, thank you so much. You come out to a 3:45 session in a city that you may or may not live in, at a conference, you're away from school, you deserve $5 for playing Kahoot with me. That's the rule. That's the way it works. Add to cart. Look at this, real time. Now if the internet picks up on my phone, you'll get this momentarily. All right, I'll give you guys another 30 seconds to get in there. Matt, I'm buffering. Before you leave, Matt, let's confirm that you actually received it. Just need to check it out. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So who am I? What are we doing here? Are you in the right place? So this is for Coaching for the Win. Matt, you should have everything you need. Coaching for the Win. My name is Tammy Flood, and I am a teacher on the eastern portion of Pennsylvania. In a school district called Cheltenham. It is located just outside of Philadelphia. Has anybody heard of Cheltenham? Anybody know Brandon Lutz? He's our director. Now he is our supervisor of technology. He just quit on us, but he's going somewhere else. But we're very happy for him. And if you get a chance to go to 60 to 60 tomorrow, you'll see Brandon there. It's a great event. I always wanted to be one of those people with a great introduction. And so my daughter typically goes to Hershey when I go to P&C, and she could not because we are over here in Pittsburgh, and I wouldn't let her miss the days of school. So because she is a digital learner and a child of the 21st century, she didn't do a TikTok, but she prepared my introduction. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Madison will tell you a little about me.
Hi, I'm Madison. I'll tell you 3 things about my mom, Tammy Flood. She helps teachers get on the Canvas and help them work it for the students and themselves. She likes the Eagles, go Eagles, and she also works hard day and night, and I'm very proud of her, and I love her. So thank you for letting me use your time. And now here comes Tammy Flood. Everyone clap your hands.
I can watch that literally. Thank you. I can literally watch it all day. How she tells you guys now you have to clap. Oh God, she has a career in education in her future. All right, so I'm Tammy Flood. I do love the Eagles. I heard something very concerning last night from one of the Pittsburgh commentators. We have Pittsburgh people here? Okay, so this guy, I'm all working on my presentation, and he's on the news saying that garbage team on the other side of the state. I went, what is he saying? He must be talking about a new team at either north or south, because I know. So that's okay. I'm going to report back to the Eagles, and we'll just take it from there. I do love the Eagles. I've been teaching in my district. I've been very fortunate to teach there for the past 21 years, and I've been in the same building. I started as a social studies teacher, and for 17 years straight, social studies teacher, grades 9 through 12. And along the way with some co-teaching and inclusion, I felt myself become very stagnant. I became a little demoralized because I felt like I had so many different learners in my classroom, I really didn't know how to reach. And when I when I looked up and I'm giving this brilliant lesson, I noticed that everyone was staring in their lap. which is really odd. I don't think that students realize how odd it is to be staring in your lab all the time. But I said, okay, well, let me see if I can meet the kids where they are online. So I started doing some personal research. I got really into educational technology, saw that it was more than a gimmick. And when our school went one-to-one with computers and a learning management system, they asked me to kind of fill in with just helping to support teachers. So I've been a coach/integrationist, although that's neither are my actual title for the past 4 years. I do not necessarily consider myself an expert. I love being at conferences like these because I learn from my peers. I learn from other teachers. But there are some things I have learned. So I'm just going to share a couple of those things. Whatever is valuable to you, take it. Anything that you already know, we can thumbs up and just leave with that. Because this is a tech conference and we have to be all cool, you can, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, or if there's anything you'd like to share, that's me. Feel free to do so. And we're going to go ahead and get started. You didn't think I was going to talk for 50 minutes, did you? Nope. Here you go. How long have you been in education? That is the first question. I love seeing, I don't know why this is so exciting, but I love seeing that data come in. All of you, I'm sure, or most of you have either heard of or used Nearpod. And even if you don't have the enterprise version or the one that you pay for, I think it has so much value. The students are actually really into it. I teach a pretty, they give me a run for my money, a pretty, tough 11th grade class. And 11th graders are tough if you're a high school teacher, because they're not the babies and they're not the seniors. They're just kind of like bitter and angry. And it's just you and them in the whole classroom, the door's locked. It's really scary, but they like it. They like it. All right, another 5 seconds, and let's see who we have in the room. I really do try to speak to the room and not the presentation in my head, so you may see me fly past some slides like, what the heck is she doing? Number one, I'd like to get you out a couple seconds early if I can, but number two, if you guys got this, you don't need whatever information, I'm going to move on to something else. So, the highest percentage goes to who? Could somebody just yell it out? 11 to 15. What's that percentage?
42 right now.
I like. So you guys got this. Okay, let's see if we can get this down to 20 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. All right, this session, this intimidates me a little bit because whenever I think about coaching and presenting on coaching, I've presented at ISTE, I've presented at PEAT before, I've presented at Canvas, the Canvas LMS conference as well. I'm a little intimidated because I always feel like I'm that first year kind of pushed in the position. Now you have to make a difference, you have to do your job. And I always go back to, that's who I want to do a presentation for. I want to do a presentation for that new or newer person. Since I'm 4 years in technology coaching, I feel like I am newer in it. And the question I asked you was about education in general. So I realize that some of you may be newer as well. But great for newer teachers. For the rest of us, or the rest of you, refreshers. And hopefully we can explore some newer things or ideas, some great creative approaches. A colleague and I, Susan, we were just talking about professional development across the board. And I think it's so important that we just kind of keep kicking around these ideas, especially when we are put in a position where we can create ourselves. All right, here's a quote. You always see a quote at a tech conference. So here's the quote. Technology coaches have the power to ignite the flame of innovation that burns in every teacher and every student. And what wise person said that? Me. All right. You always see a quote from someone, you're like, oh, who is that? You Google them and they're like, work at some school in Idaho. You're like, oh, okay, well, whatever. So now you have one from me. And I'm sure it'll rock your world. You all know this. You all know this because you're educators, because you do it every day. And to me, I think being a coach is one of my favorite roles as an educator because I get to work with the people I respect so much. I don't think teachers get enough respect, and that's coming from somebody. I also hold an administrative degree and certification, but I've been a teacher for 21 years, and I have a lot of respect for the profession and the teachers, and so that's why I'm passionate, or try to be, about what I do. So, you're a tech coach, huh? tech integrationist, whatever wonderful word you have for that. What do you do? Well, first I need to know what's your role, because I know not everyone in here is a coach, but you're here for a reason. So if you don't mind indulging me, and I promise I will give you some information at some point, but I do want to, again, know who's in the room. Oh, okay, so it is. That only makes sense. I was at one conference and everyone in the room was secondary, post-secondary. And I was just like, oh, okay. So let me shift gears a little bit and make sure I keep it in the context instead of saying, you know, teachers versus professors or instructors. Okay, so we do have a wide variety. I'll share it for you so you can see it where you are. About half the room, maybe a little more when everything shakes out. Combination of roles, that doesn't surprise me at all. At 14%, very nice, very nice. No central administrators? No, I'm just kidding. No, I love them because they employ me. All right, we're going to move through this, and I forgot all that time, the clicker I begged for, I've had. So we're going to move through a little quickly. So your pro tip as a coach, and we went over that little Kahoot in the beginning because I'm not getting into what a tech coach is necessarily and what a tech coach does, because I assume if you're here, you probably know that. But just some things, like I said, they may not, I'm not splitting the atom up here, but I wish that I could go to 30, 40 minutes 4 or 5 years ago to just jot down some notes or just hear it again. So you are all these things. I don't need to read that list to you, and this is not even a complete list. And I love the fact that you are a change agent because it is a really, really important job. One thing I didn't put on there, besides advocate, that's another one of my favorite roles, is a servant leader. And I feel really that we are in the, I use the leader portion of servant leader very carefully, and I'll talk about how I feel about that leadership perspective in a minute. But you are, I feel like we're there to support and serve our teachers. So who do we serve? A little bit of a spoiler. Obviously students, they always come first. They're in the center of everything that we do. We wouldn't be here, any of them. We wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be there in our home schools. Staff, community, obviously, but primarily teachers. And I already told you my deep admiration for teachers and the professions. So I try to keep that in the center of my mind, and I'm sure you do too. But like our students, which I think we know this better than anybody else, teachers are all different. The one size fits all doesn't really work for everybody. So I think you really do have to be super creative, constantly thinking and learning and coming to things like this. Because I will go to 5 sessions, I'll get a few refreshers, some things I'll know, and I'll see one thing, and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna use that, or a variation of that. And I think that's okay. That is worth the money, you know, as far as I'm concerned. So you have to know who you serve. And what I have next here are the facts, just some symbolic representations of the diversity of teachers that we serve. And this is in no way, shape, or form. Do not go back to your school saying I was saying bad things about you. Because I'm not. This is with love and affection. We have so many different types of individuals, but then teacher profiles, I like to call them, that we serve, that I think in order to be effective, you have to keep that in the back of your head. Now, you always go in with a clean slate, but I think having an awareness that the person you may be speaking with may not be jumping up and down because Nearpod just added on assisted reading assist or whatever.
Immersive reader.
Thank you, immersive reader. Thank you. I haven't used it yet. But we should be, right?
Yeah.
But I'll say that to someone, they'll go, okay. I'm like, oh, okay, so you, okay, great. You know, I'll tweet it, and I'll be like, nobody cares about this but, and no one cares. So I'm correct about that. I'm going to very quickly go through my types. I'm not going to read them to you because you can read them yourself. But I'll tell you about when, and for each teacher, FYI, that I have here, I actually have a person in my head, which is really crazy, but because I'm thinking about this person. The eager early adopter. Every tech coach's, integrationist, probably administrator's dream, because these people are eager beavers. Please do not assume that they are new or experienced. They can be either and everything everything in between. I like these people because of their passion, their zeal. Like me in the very beginning, when I was searching for how to best meet the new needs of my student, it was, for me, very, very tech focused. Oh my goodness, look at this new shiny tool, look what I can do. And everything then had to feed into that tool. Now, with experience, professional development, and all that, I know that that's the absolute wrong mindset. You don't build a curriculum around tools. You have your curriculum, and then if the tools can enhance or improve outcomes, that's when you know you got something going on. There's my eager teacher, the anti-tech, the anti-tech teacher. There are probably a decent number of these teachers in your school. Again, you can't assume there's a teacher with 20 years, with 11 years. I have 21, look at me. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily, don't make those assumptions. Generally, I find out that these are decent teachers. They like the way that they have been doing it, and they have experienced success. And what do we say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Some of the apprehension of the anti-techness might be because they don't feel very savvy. So keep that in mind. And like I said, these profiles are really just an awareness for you, not to label people and to work down to them or think certain, not to judge. All right, I already know this teacher. Don't tell anybody, but this is me in every area except tech. I know it. I'm not proud of it. But when a new initiative, idea, whatever, I'm like, oh my God, really, again? Well, usually it does at least have a new name, so that helps. But it's something that I've done probably, if I've been there 20 years, every 5 years things come back. I'm about my third or fourth rotation with a different name and a different administration. So these people many times are willing to grow and learn, possibly have integrated some technology, but again, they may not be jumping up and down and giving you hugs and kisses because you showed them a QR code. These individuals may reach out if they need something to meet their specific goal, and generally, all of these are generalizations, might want to be left alone. And my favorite, this person is next door to me in my office right now, and I think that might be intentional. She is terrified. She thinks if she does anything on that computer, she's going to break the internet, and I have to reassure her constantly that you're not going to break it. Worst case scenario, we'll turn it off and reboot it, and it'll happen again. You're not going to wipe out the grades for the district. Everything is fine. Many of them, in their own head, they've already told themselves they're very fixed mindset. I can't use technology. I'm not good at it. I'll break it. Never mind. I'll just do it the easy way. Easy is the old way, which sometimes isn't very efficient. I love this. This is most of our teachers. Willing, but overwhelmed. And the last bullet point is everything. Suffering from initiative fatigue. There's probably 10 changes that I can think of right now in the past 18 months or 2 school years. And I do struggle as a 21-year-old career teacher or vet, keeping them all straight. So I understand how if someone says, okay, now you have to use this LMS for every student, how that would be overwhelming. That might be just the thing. So keep all of these people in mind, and we'll talk a little bit about this. As a coach, you need to kind of be aware of who they are, but also how you will reach them. And ultimately, how do you get them to embrace technology integration and welcome coaching? Because some people hear coaching and they feel like, are you telling me I'm not a good teacher? So you're the master of all things learning? Never said that. Let the record show. But it is, and I understand it. When I moved, out of my, very gung-ho tech world, I do understand that. So I think one way you can do it is to keep it real. And it should be a dot in between each letter, but when I download my PDF, it did not come through. But those, I know how to spell real. Every letter stands for, I'm in front of teachers, I feel a little self-conscious. All right, this one too. You will find a typo at some point because I do it every presentation. Keep it real. So I basically try to keep it very short in my brain whenever I come into a coaching partnership or relationship, or I'm meeting with someone new, or someone that I've met with before, this is what I have to make sure that I keep in mind. So the first thing is relationships, or building those relationships. I like empathy, or to empathize with whoever it is I'm working with. Try to encourage, which I think is a really big part of the job, because I don't think we get enough encouragement. None of us went into teaching for the fame and the pats on the back, fortunately. None of us went in for that. But I think it is important every now and then. And leadership, which I said a little earlier, is the part that makes me probably the most uncomfortable. So when you talk about relationships, and I just put a bunch of visuals on this page, it is everything. It is, and how to foster these relationships, regardless if it's a new teacher or if it's someone you've known for 20 years. One of the benefits of tech coach / integration schedules, depending on the district, is that you may not be fully rostered, or you may not be rostered at all. As much as you can, if you could, even from the very beginning of the year, when everyone's sweating in August and throwing out posters and trying to make copies, pop in, hey, how was your summer? I know you're really busy. You need any help with that? First, second, third day of school, a cup of coffee costs about $1.25, which is ridiculous. But if you grab two and you come in, did you have coffee today? I picked up two, I don't even know. You want this? Whatever you can do. Hey, I'm Tammy. Hey, I'm the tech integration or tech coach or what have you. However, you can reach out to a person just on a human level to let them know, I see you, I care about you, let me know how I can be helpful. Empathy, or to empathize with them, and that's a little bit about how I think about that one friend I have that is so overwhelmed and believes that technology is really difficult and evil. I have, again, in the 21 years, been faced with various things I've been asked to do as an educator that I was not comfortable with, that I thought were, quite frankly, but not super intelligent to say, stupid, that I thought were, I've been faced with that, and I've been required to do it, and I've hated it sometimes, if I'm being honest, because it's 4 o'clock and I should be in bed. I'm being honest. So when someone kind of gives me that energy back, I get it. I don't think you can take it personally. I think you have to, number one, know who you're talking with, listen to them, you have those relationships, and you have to empathize. And when I mean empathize, I mean you have to actually see that experience from their eyes. It may be a different situation, and handle it the way that you wish it had been handled with you. If you've been in education more than 3 or 4 minutes, you've probably had to struggle with some new initiative. And like I said, although, and I want to stress this again, although I had the profiles, judgment is not the goal there. It's so that you can have an awareness. All right, so we talk a lot about social emotional learning and being socially connected to people. So keep that in mind as well. Encouragement, I think, and I know this is very Pollyanna, but I think what we forget so often in education, particularly when we talk about teachers and instructors, we're human too, we're people too. We do need these things, we do need our cup to be refilled every so often. So don't just be a coach, I say be the cheerleader, all right? There was a teacher who came to me with her first hyperlink, and boy, oh boy, did we celebrate, and she got a little sticker for me, and she's so proud, and she got a little pin that I got from some vendor at some conference. You're great, oh my God, can I see what you did there? I wanted to make a big deal out of it, because a few weeks later, I saw that you did, now she made a big leap. She went from embedding a link to, I heard that you did something with a Google drawing that was like a choice board. So this woman wants to go from embedding her first link to a choice board. I'm in. But maybe, and I'm not saying I'm responsible for this, but maybe just that pat on the back, I see you, wow, fantastic, you know, you have kind of raised the bar for someone who's intimidated, maybe that helped, who knows. But you want to share, you want to make sure that people are in their comfort zone, but you want to know when to push and when to stop and when to pull back a little bit. I think you have to do a tiny bit of pushing, but you also have to know when not to push too far, because you'll lose them for a mighty long time. And then finally, leadership, and then I'll get into some strategies. lead like everybody's watching, because they are. And as a teacher, as a card-carrying union member, as a former officer of the union, I am very, again, pro-teacher. I'm not an administrator, but there are aspects of coaching that make you a leader. You are a teacher leader. And that was hard for me to accept. I don't know what my issue is, but it was hard. But demonstrating and showing anytime you present or facilitate a conversation, use best practices. Recognize yourself as a leader. Share your vision. Make sure you're listening. Be open to feedback and open to it. Try to inspire if you can. You should use data to inform, not only when you're working with teachers, but data to inform what professional development is needed. All right, so I get to take a break. Ideally, this is when I would take a sip of water, but since I forgot, I'll just sit here. What aspect of REAL, with the dots in place, the initials in place, REEL, do you think is perhaps the most crucial for new coaches, or if you want to substitute that out for a coach? And I don't know if they listed it all there. All of them were supposed to be listed. Relationships, empathy or empathize, encouragement, and leadership. I think that's one of those questions, depending on your perspective and where you are in your journey of coaching, that your answer, I don't think there's a correct answer. Your answer might be different than the person next to you. So building those relationships, especially at the beginning, but you want to make sure you retain them. And I actually do think, for my opinion, from my perspective, I think relationships are the most. I think you can get really far and have a lot of currency out there if you can build relationships with people, even if you disagree. So I am going to go through a couple of strategies that I've used, a couple of strategies that I've heard of, and before I do that, I want to pause and see if we have any questions. Because I have the A team. There's no questions. All right, you've seen this, I've seen this, it's hilarious, I laugh every time. When I die, I hope it's during a staff meeting. We all gotta go. MJ would approve. It was during a staff meeting. Staff meetings, and this was the conversation during lunch, can be rough. I think well-intentioned, and I was sitting in the audience during one of my sessions and I said, wow, this is everything that's wrong with our presentations. We're all sitting in rows and there's the sage on the stage, the expert, so to speak, and looking around, we have so many experts in the room. It would be great to have a different thing going. So I hope that we have that opportunity, should you choose, to make every professional development better. I think you have to show a clip from The Office. So this is a clip on professional development, and I find every excuse to use The Office. So here we go. Jim and Pam.
Outlines the governing principles key to establishing and maintaining trust with our employees, clients.
Oh my God, kill me.
Hey, all right.
Actually,
obviously we all want to die, but we have to get through this. So, Gabe.
I'm sorry, I do make mistakes. I want to show you this clip because that one has ads in it. Say I admitted that I messed up.
Sabre Code of Conduct outlines the governing principles key to establishing and maintaining trust with our employees, clients.
Oh my God, kill me.
Hey, all right. Obviously we all want to die, but we have to get through this. So, Gabe, go ahead. It's okay.
Is it okay with you? Because it's not your work for me, so. Comply with all applicable laws, regulations, policies, and contracts governing our business. Be honest, fair, trustworthy in all your business activities and relationships. Treat one another.
I'm going into labor!
Oh, okay, she's going into labor. Make way, everybody!
I know it's wrong to fake going into labor just to get out of things, but sometimes it's necessary. I'm going into labor.
Should I have corn dogs?
I'm going into labor.
3 reasons you are wrong about True Blood. Number 1.
I'm going into labor. Here we go.
Hey guys, can't keep saying you're going into labor. Everyone knows you're full of it.
Yeah.
It's not fair, you guys.
Careful.
Never cry wolf.
Okay.
So we get it, right? And again, it's something, it's always in the back of my head. I told you I'm probably not the best teacher in the world when it comes to professional development. And sometimes, you know, it's just like, oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever dealt with in my life. Which clearly is not. But there are a couple of things that I try to keep in mind. There are things that I'm told and required to do. That's just my job. And I'm going to always do my job, but I'm going to try to be as meaningful, creative, and effective. Everything won't be, you know, a scene from The Office. Everything won't be great and funny. But the bottom line is I'm going to try to do my job. So these are just a couple of random ideas that I put out there. Again, if you're somebody who's been doing this for a long time, you may agree or disagree, and I would be so open to it. But one thing that I always think, and it makes me want to pull my hair out, if you can put it in an email, please, for the love of all things, big and small, put it in an email, okay? We don't need to gather people for an hour and a half for something that really is just a short communication. Email is designed for that. Put it in an email. I am not saying email is the most effective way to provide professional development. I'm not even calling it professional development. But there are a lot of meetings that we have, and for all the reasons in yellow, that kind of take away from whatever meaning or well-intentioned reason you had for putting a meeting together that could have been an email. Sometimes you'll see that easily dismissed. But there are times that emails are going to be effective. I'm a Chrome web store addict. If you live in the Chrome environment, you can go to the Chrome web store for emails, and some of you may be familiar with this, but it's called Convert Google Docs to Gmail. And if you go to Convert Google Docs to email, you actually, in your Gmail, it will be a button right next to share that says open in email or open in Gmail. So you could type up your email, your message, insert your image, whatever you were going to do in that email into Google Docs. And when you hit that button, it will convert it into an email message, and then you can just send it to whoever's in your address book. So that's just a really quick tool. It's a kind of an aside. But I use that a lot because I don't know why, but I prefer to craft my emails on Google Docs first and send it over. So FYI, if you want to check that out now or whenever, Convert Google Docs to Gmail. It is in the Chrome web store. All right, so number 2, seek creative ways to share information. We have to share information. Sometimes it's face-to-face meetings, sometimes it is a sit and get. But when you can, written information, it can be powerful. So you probably already know this and have experienced this, but websites, s'mores, any newsletter platform, Wakelet, I'm not sure how many of you have used Wakelet. See, yeah, we are like spirit. We're right here. Remind, Blooms, Twitter, Instagram. I have to tell you, I think Twitter is a toilet for the most part, but if you get the right, she's laughing, but she knows I'm right, that's why she's laughing. If you get the right PLN, if you connect with the right people, I have learned so much professionally from my PLN, my professional learning network. And what I figured out was the clue. You have to make sure you know who you follow, make sure you're like-minded, and follow those hashtags. It is a beautiful thing. Because people tell me things they see on Twitter. They're like, what do you mean you didn't see that? It's been viral for 3 days. I'm like, oh, thank you. I've got the best Twitter in the world. So please, if you're going to do Twitter, I think it's so valuable. You can't go to every conference, but I've, number one, learned about conferences over the summer, online conferences and everything, all on Twitter, and had some great Twitter chats with complete strangers from all over the world. All right, so communication beyond email. I'm just going to stick this up here for you. Some of my favorite tools, Wakelet, and I'm doing a little name drop in here in case you've never used it before. I know when I sit in the seat at conferences, one of the things that I do is I open up a Google Keep and I jot down certain little apps and I go back in a nice quiet room with a glass of wine and explore. S'more, if you've never used it. Canva. Canva is great. It even has a Chrome extension. Canva is a great way, not only a great tool, not only to use with your students, if you teach students still, But if you ever have to advertise for PDs, if you ever have to make infographics, posters, flyers, and it looks good and professional, it's just a wonderful thing. And I think it will work well as a newsletter too, because they have various templates. Obviously, I think Google Sites is the easiest to get started with, but Wix and Weebly are two others that I have used, and it has been great. Any questions, feedback, anything right there? All right, my tip number 3 is going to be use an LMS for self-paced trainings. We all know during the school year, things get hectic, especially this time of the year. People are kind of like a little burnt. But there's still things we need to know. We still have jobs to do, and we all need to continue growing. So you could build a program, a module, attach your video, links, the research if you have it. Research always helps out. So do your research and attach it to justify why this is meaningful, how this helps students. And you can attach that all in a nice self-paced module. Everyone doesn't want to sit in a platform like this or even engage in a small group discussion because, you know, we're prideful. We're teachers, we're experts, and we view ourselves, and we don't want to be wrong sometimes, and we want to do things the right way. And sometimes you can feel a little intimidated, but this is a great way for someone at their own pace to kind of encounter those things. We use Canvas, but Schoology is free. It has a free version. Google Classroom, I think, is great. I've used all 3, Canvas, Schoology, and Google Classroom. And as long as your staff has access to it, as long as you give it to them, and you can kind of go to your administrator and say, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you ask the teachers if they could join this classroom, you know, send the link or the code, and then you'll probably get a little more participation. I love to gamify, and I'm not just talking about my favorites, which are GimKit. I love GimKit. Has anyone ever used GimKit? This is me name dropping again. GimKit, G-I-M-K-I-T. If you haven't used it, because I only saw about 4 or 5 hands, it was created by a student for like a project, and it took off, and now that's his company, and he just graduated from high school, not my student, and he is just hired like 2 or 3 people. I love following this kid's story. I paid for nothing, but I paid for GimKit, so I actually paid for it because I said, this is a kid, like a former student. I'm so proud of him as if he were my student. What you see right here is different ways that I've tried to gamify, and I actually think I'm going to try to open up this GimKit. You stay where you are, not GimKit. This was a thing link, which I just realized is not free anymore. Did you all know that? I was very upset. I had a student use it the other day. And he was like, Ms. Flood, I can't send you the link because it's not, they say I have to put in a credit card. I said, oh, no, we don't. So we figured it out. But this was a bingo board that I created, and I put on my learning management system. So literally, if a teacher said, I want to try out Flipgrid in a nice, safe way, they could go to Flipgrid. It gave them a little overview. It had links to Flipgrid. And the kind of goal was, if you want to use this over the next 3 years, you want to get bingo, or if you want to cross off as many as possible, you'd be able to do so, because all I had to do was upload an image that I created in Google Drive, in Google Drawing, and then I inserted this little hot link, and it had the hyperlinks, and I just thought that was a really kind of cool tool to, I don't know, try to approach the same information, but in a more creative way. I'm going to skip this one right here because I want to get to Goose Chase. I have to mention that too. How many people, there was a Goose Chase here. If you're here for Goose Chase and you've never done it, I do recommend it. My favorite one, this was like my second Goose Chase, but the very first time I did a Goose Chase, it was a department meeting, and I had to teach them about whatever it was at the time. And I have to tell you, my department is awesome, but they're definitely the cool kids who don't really get excited over anything. I had smiling faces. We're the social studies department. You know social studies teachers. I had smiling faces. We got administrators in on it, because one of the things is, you know, I try to throw a fun thing in there, like go find an administrator, take a selfie. Like everyone was excited to see that level of engagement. Try to be creative. I always think about it through the eyes of my students when I'm planning for my students. Well, what gets them going? And it's not always apples to apples with adults, but kind of what I believe the teachers may like. Collections in Wakelet. This was how many people do Potty PD? Potty PD, or I only saw one person. You just might not be talking to me right now, but I will pull it up. This is Wakelet. If you've never used it, I love Wakelet. Basically, so I had Potty PDs all around the building. I was able to print them in color. And I called it Bathroom Buzz because for whatever reason I didn't want to say Potty PD, but it was a collection of, again, created on a Google Draw system. Just kind of while you're doing your business, you could check out, or you could visually see, oh, Digo, that's a great tool to use as a social online bookmarking tool, and I can share that with my kids. Or better yet, contact Miss Flood and have Miss Flood come in and do a 20 or 30-minute session on Digo, why it's valuable, help the kids use it, and then I'll move on with my unit. So I try to do some kind of advertising through things like that, and I stored them all in Wakelet. So I have a few collections here. I just deleted a bunch last night. Tech tools to check out, 20 days of Canvas, so on and so forth. So that'll always be there, and you can share that with one link with everything in your collection. So that's kind of cool. Back and almost done. We started at, okay. I've been known to go over, so do not let me go over my time. All right, just some other quick ideas I put out there. I haven't done the speed dating yet. Has anyone done speed dating for tech tools? I've done speed dating, actually. it's terrible, don't do it. But I'm hoping that I've heard great ideas with speed dating for tech tools, so I have to look into that. Create theme days. Our last in-service was on Valentine's Day. Now, my portion got cut, but it was a Valentine, how much you love Canvas, that's our LMS. And I try to choose your own adventure, just anything. Try to have fun with it. Obviously, do your job. But at the end of the day, I said, when in doubt, awards and swag. I just got you guys to play Kahoot at 4 p.m. at the end of the day. The sun has gone down, and I gave away $5. $5 will not make or break my life, and hopefully it will make Matt, was it Matt? Matt probably loves. it'll make Matt super happy. He can get, like, I don't know, a couple of, lollipops or something. All right, swag, advocate. And some people do ask how I get the swag. I actually have bags and bags of swag from conferences. If you are one of the Ed Puzzle Educators, Newsella, that's an easy one. You can always reach out. But even if you're not, reach out to them. Also, go to that expo hall. Stickers, pens, whatever you got, you can get that for free. Dollar store, low value gift certificates. If you're on the East Coast, it's Wawa that you want to get. Out here in Pittsburgh people, Sheets, that's what I thought. It's kind of like the Eagles and Pittsburgh big. I got you. Wawa. Okay, but get with people like Duncan, works everywhere in Pennsylvania. Just be creative. Last thing, and if you just want to screenshot this, because like I said, I'm constantly looking for information and knowledge. I'm starving to get better. I feel like I'm at 1.4 and I want to be 2.5, so I'm still growing. And so these are the ones, and I have hundreds of books. When I looked up on Amazon to screenshot some of the books, it was 5 pages of books that I saw, just long lists. So I just pulled out a couple. As for coaching, these are ones that I have explored, many of them cover to cover, but not all of them. And for coaching leadership, if you kind of, again, I said I struggled with that, that perspective, these were amazing. The Art of Coaching, Educational Coaching, I read like one beach day. I just could not get enough of this book by Kathy Toll. And then I just started Digital Leadership over on the right, and I'm already like, I can't wait to get back to my room and get a second to dig into it. And I'm not really that nerdy, although I call myself an EdTech geek. This stuff is just good. It feeds my soul. I hope it makes me better, and I hope that it allows me to help people in a way that's meaningful. So remember these things, who you are, know who you serve, keep it real, provide as creative PD, take risk. I do all the time. Sometimes they fail, sometimes they work out great, but I think people at least know I'm trying. And that's it for me, folks. I'm getting you out of here early. Anybody have any questions? They said the reception's upstairs. I hope you guys have a great one. Thank you so much for tolerating me and your kindness. And if you have anything, please feel free to come by. And I did it in sneakers. Susan, I saw the podium. I took my boots off and put the station.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I took notes in the Nearpod.
Nice.
And it should be in my Google Drive now, right?
Yes,
Will
I
that
also
include all of the slides that you had in your
Yes, I'm
presentation?
actually going to change it. Thank you for reminding me. Also, if you just want it in Google Drive, I have a link.
There's that bit.
Yeah, so I went back and
I
forth
didn't do
on.
it that way.
Let me see. I usually do a QR code, but then I lose those. I don't know.
Thank you for that heads up.
No problem. I'm going to go back and make that self-paced. Here is the Google Drive, and there is a URL. Oh, I unplugged it. Oh Lord, will I ever be able to get this? I think it's gonna come up. Give it a second. It's not. Basically, it's tinyurl.com
Okay.
/coach to win. I
Two,
don't
the number two?
just I know what I have to do. TO.
Oh, okay.
And that won't ever go off, but I will go back and set that to self-paced, but there it is right there.
Will it be a different code for the self?
No, because this is just, for the self-paced. That's a great
Different
question.
code.
I don't think you'll need a code for that. I think you just put your name in. You should just be able to go in and explore. I'm gonna change it
Oh,
before I
like
leave.
the
We can
tiny
test
URL.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
it comes up as a.
Yeah, the URL. Well, the URL I like better because it has my gifts in it. I was really torn. I waited too long and had to sacrifice when I downloaded this as a PDF and uploaded it in Nearpod. I had to sacrifice all my gifts, so I like this one better. All right, tiny URL, Coach to Win. And Instagram is where I spend most of my time because people on Instagram are happy. Twitter, I don't know what's wrong with those people. I don't, but I mean, sometimes you'll bump into a retweet like, what is your problem? But everybody I meet on Instagram and my little teacher cohort, they're all pleasant. It's positive. All right? You guys are awesome. Hope you have a fantastic evening and conference.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me make this self-paced because I'll forget. And then I'll get.
You want some picture?
Yay, Susie Bear, thanks for coming. Did you get to do anything else?
I went back to the and I sat down and I actually looked at perfect grading for my day.
Good for you.
I just want to say I thoroughly enjoyed all of it.
Thank you.
There's a new code.
There's
I'll
a
take a picture of it. I already shut down the computer. It's not
Yeah, I think the URL.
So you'll go back to the team.
Thank you.
So it was fabulous.
Thank you. It was a struggle. Me and my Susie Bear. I'm so glad that's over. We did it! Yay! Do you want me to get one? Oh, that's one of the slides, like the beginning. I know. I could do it behind the podium one. Oh wait. Oh yeah. All right, yeah. Let's do one of those. So I'll change it to. Actually, just do this.
That's great. I love it. I love it. Oh, this is perfect.
The hot pink event.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate it. Now I'm the poster. Now I'm the poster. That's good. I appreciate you coming back out because it's hard once you go in. Hi. Thanks, Bill. Nice to meet you.